All right. So good evening, guys. This is Dr. Osborne. So super excited. We just finished our makeover. Got a chance to change out of my makeover clothes there. But I just want to welcome you guys to your daily adjustment. And this is, I think one of the things I've realized about the daily adjustments is this is where we stop trying to fix problems and we start trying to fix our thinking. And when we fix our thinking, the problems actually take care of themselves. And that's the real beauty is that thinking's a skill that you can develop. Really, you can develop it throughout your lifetime. So, look, guys, just watch your thoughts because it's been said they become your words. Watch your words because they become your actions. Watch your actions because they become your habits, and watch your habits because they become your character, and watch your character for it becomes your destiny. And the children that aren't so like when we're talking about our destiny right now, just a kind of news of the weird, right? We always start off with our news of the weird. Stanford came out with a study that suggested that the average student, since we've been locking down our schools, has lost a third of a year's worth of learning in reading and 3/4 of a year's worth of learning in math. And they said that these effects could be long-term, and it's only because we're afraid. Did you guys know that like the kids are the least likely? There's been only 100 children in the last year that have actually suffered that actually passed away. And I'm not minimizing that, but in the grand scheme of things, we literally have shut down all of our children, and really had them lose a whole entire year of their life. One of the interesting things about this, a study that just came out that said this reduction in learning will reduce the lifetime of income of these children by 3%. And that doesn't seem a lot, right? But in the Journal of the American Medical Association, they actually found out that this increased financial stress is going to be associated with a collective loss of 13.8 million years of life lost. Can you think of anything more selfish than losing 13.8 million years of lives of our children that are today? They're going to be paying the consequences for our decisions over the last year here. And I think that the thing is that in learning can be done safely. Everybody agrees with it with the right precautions. And that was kind of a little unclear March and April, but now studies have shown that schools can be safe. And there was a report from the Centers for the Disease Control and Prevention, and they attested to this fact. They said that the evidence is absolutely clear. And then the National Education Association president, she came out with a claim that said reopening schools could lead to the death of 50,000 children. Well, Miguel points out that the number of children in American children known to have died, they like I said, was only around 100. So once again, we talk about incongruencies, right? Like inconsistencies in the story, and then insanity, news of the weird. When things don't make sense, they just don't make sense. And so as we move on to our daily COVID injections, I just want to remind you guys that the COVID injections are not vaccines, right? According to the CDC, that vaccines contain the same germs that cause disease, but they've either been killed or weakened to the point that they just don't make you sick. So basically all the vaccines pretty much contain only a part of a disease germ. And so what they call the COVID vaccine is not a vaccine at all. It doesn't even contain germs that cause the disease. The vaccine that they're trying to give to you is not a vaccine because it's like an mRNA genetically designed immunotherapeutic, experimental immunotherapeutic designed to stimulate your cells to produce proteins that they've never produced before on their own. And so these proteins are then attacked by antibodies that they claim to protect against COVID-19. Essentially what it does is it causes an autoimmune response, so your body actually attacks that protein. So I guess my question is what could go wrong with this, right? Well, first of all, there's no mRNA vaccine that's ever been licensed for human use. Like this vaccine that they're giving out in the millions and millions has never been licensed for human use. They never said that it was safe in the first place there. The efficacy data that they have on it's only short term. It's only months. There's been no long-term side effects or safety that's been established with it. There's been no long-term efficacy studies, basically what's going to happen in the future is unknown. And so the problem is that viruses and its proteins, they mutate quickly. Think about like why that's why we get the flu shot every year. The other thing is that the mRNA shots are coated with like nanoparticles, and PEG it's known to induce allergies and autoimmune disease. And the other thing is that the other ingredients that are disclosed and undisclosed, I mean, that are on there, this represents why as many as 40% of medical professionals, that's just not just me, but 40% of medical professionals, they're like saying, no way, I'm not going to line up for this shot. And I can tell you what to do, but I'm not. I can only ask you to think and to ask questions. And I do feel that the best offense against this virus or a bacteria or a fungi or a parasite is always a strong defense. It's it's what we call the strong host, right? And there's never been a good defense that's been injected into your body. Like a good defense, it can only be earned. So if you want a bulletproof immune system, I suggest you go to our YouTube site, Discover Chiropractic San Jose, and look up our Bulletproof Your Immune System video that we did earlier this year. Look, the principles of health haven't changed in the last year. So I guess this is the next thing that I want to talk about is that, have you ever had this happen in your life? Is there anything that you've actually wanted so badly, and that something that you were so desirous of that you just had this hunger that you couldn't stop thinking about? It could have been a career move. It could have been a car when you were a kid. It could have been a relationship. It could have been anything that you were obsessed about. So tonight we did our makeover. We did our new year makeover. And it was all about like creating this new you in this new year. And I just want to thank everybody that was on it. I hope you got a tremendous amount on it. If you want to get a link to the makeover, if you missed it, just direct message me. But I think the thing is that you wanted to make this happen, right? Like we all have these goals that we want to make happen. We want to attract this into our life. We want something, and we don't even know how to get it. And the thing is that when we want something and it's so compelling, we start thinking about it every day. And that's what we talked about on this makeover. It's like, what do you want, right? We start to envision it. We start to imagine it. We start feeling it. And then what happens? Stuff happens, right? And then suddenly you start to attract those people. You start to attract those situations in your life, and it seems like everything just comes together. You didn't even have a total plan, or it wasn't just that part. It wasn't just that it was a part of your focus, but it was your focus with intensity and emotion that sensitized you to everything and anything that you could that was out there. And there's a part of your brain called the reticular. Sorry about that. It's a late night. Reticular activating system, but we call it the RAS for short. And that's the part of your brain that determines what you notice in the world. It's really important because when you set a goal, when you get really clear on your vision, there's strong enough reasons, and you review it enough, it becomes part of you. And that part of your brain says, anything that relates to this, I just absolutely need to notice. So a great example of this is if you ever bought a certain kind of car or maybe an outfit, and suddenly you see that car or those outfits everywhere. And we know those cars were always around, but why do you see it now? It's because your RAS knows that this is important. This is part of my world now. And similarly, when you get a clear vision and it's compelling and you get strong reasons for making those changes in your life, and you're reviewing it every day and you're feeling it, and the brain becomes incredibly acute at noticing anything to get you to move forward. And that's the power of this. What do people do with a New Year's resolution? They come up with something they kind of want. It's not really this compelling vision. They don't have a strong enough reasons, and they never really review it again until they notice that they just did not accomplish what they set out to do. They didn't even resolve to do anything. If you resolve that and you have this vision and it's compelling and you review it daily and you feel it deep inside you and you envision it and you experience it, guys, I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you're going to have lasting change at anything that it's just all it takes is that you need to raise your standards. You need to keep that vision strong in your eyes, in your head, and you need to raise your standards. And I always tell people that if you want to change your life, just raise your standards. And the thing is what does that mean, right? lasting change is different than a goal. You don't always get your goals, but you always, every single time, get your standards. So maybe it would help if you think about it this way. Everybody in life gets their must, right? They don't get what should happen, but they get their must. They get their absolute must. And think about it. Most people have a list of shoulds, but the things that they should do, they should follow through on. And I should lose weight. We talked about this on the makeover. I should lose weight. I should like exercise more. I should spend more time with my family. I should respond more rapidly to my emails. Whatever it is, I should go into the office. I should be more confident. People love to have their should list accomplished, but they're like New Year's resolution. If it's not really exciting, which it really usually isn't, you don't accomplish it, and it's disappointing. But you kind of know that it's not going to happen when you make those resolutions, and that's what the New Year's New Year makeover is about. It's about finding your why, making those shoulds a must, making those things big so that you can keep them in front of your mind. And so when you decide that something's a must for you, an absolute must, when you cut off any possibilities and you just say, I'm going to find the way, or I'm going to make the way. Human beings, when they resolve things, when they make a real resolution inside of themselves, which is they raise their standards and they make it a must, they find a way. Think about it in your own life. Haven't you ever had some area of your life where you raised your standards and your life was never the same? Maybe at the same time in your life, at one time you smoked cigarettes, or you did something that you did for years, and you kept on trying to change, trying to quit, right? Kept telling yourself I should. Then one day something happened. And I see this all the time in our office. Somebody comes in with cancer, right? And then all of a sudden something clicks. Those same people that could never give up sugar, which feeds cancer, somehow something took over them, and that was the tipping point. And they said, never again am I going to eat sugar. So inside of yourself, you have to say no more. It's a very different experience. Something inside of you has to shift, and your shoulds got to become a must. And once those shoulds become a must, they'll never come back. So I guess what I want to ask you, if there an area in your life that you think you can, where you can finally say no more, right? You can't go back, and it doesn't take willpower anymore, right? Somewhere when we make this click, when something becomes a must, we attach ourselves to it, and it becomes part of our identity. All right, guys, this is Dr. Osborne, and it's a late night tonight, but I just want to let you know that just make your shoulds a must. Start asking questions, start thinking, and I just want to always remind you, like we always do, you're more brilliant and powerful than you know. The one thing I'm going to ask you, if this was important to you, if you felt like you got something out of this, somebody else in the world is looking for an answer, and they're just asking you to be the solution. So just share it, like it, let me know what you want to hear about more. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep